Let's go ahead and call the Senate back to order. The Sergeant-at-Arms will secure the doors. Members will take their seats. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. President.
All right, we'll leave it open for a minute. Does the Senator from District 6 would like to start us off in prayer for the invocation this afternoon? If members could please rise for the invocation.
Dear Father, we thank you again for another day that you truly have blessed us with, that you've given us, God. And we can never, ever in our lifetime give you enough thanks or ever give you enough praise for your goodness, that you give us the health and the strength that we have each and every day. May we always remember that you are the Alpha and you are the Omega, you are the beginning and you are the end. You are the answer to all things. And I pray, Father, that you'll just bless us this evening and this time. May we look to you, Father, for answers. May we always remember that you are the one with the answers. And you help us each and every moment of every hour of every day. And we can never thank you enough. But I thank you, Father, that you give us the opportunity to be the leaders that we are and have opportunity to make a difference and make a change for the better. So bless us all and help us and guide us and direct us. And may we honor you in everything that we think and that we say and that we do. And we can never give you enough thanks. We can never give you enough praise. And we always ask this in your most holy and most precious name. Amen.
Mr. President.
Amen. Chair recognizes the Senator from District 33.
Move that we journalize the prayer.
Without objection, we most certainly will journalize the prayer. We are seeing that beautiful Montgomery County delegation make it to the floor. The glamour shots were successful. Excellent. All right. Has everyone recorded their presence in the chamber? We're missing a couple of our chairpersons. We hope that they will arrive shortly. That would be helpful. I'm sure they are on their way. Okay. Oh, there we go. There's one. All right. Excellent. All right, just one. We'll wait for Madam Chair to hit her button. Thank you. All right, the clerk will take the call. With 45 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland is yet again in session. All right, I hope everyone got a little bit of food, a little bit of voting, a little bit of committee time. We are almost there. We're at the final countdown. Hopefully that just triggered the song in everybody's head, Okay, let's do this. So I think let's start with the Protocol Committee. We have a happy message. Chair recognizes the co-chair of the Protocol Committee.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, we didn't have the opportunity to say farewell collectively to our pages who've been with us, but I just wanted to share with you, we had 100 students from all 23 counties and Baltimore City who participated in this special session 2021 virtual page program. During their assignments, they watched committee bill hearings, voting sessions, joint delegation meetings, and even district events, observing the debate and the discussion during those floor sessions, and attended a lot of online presentations about the legislative process in the Maryland General Assembly, and they heard from many of us. It might be interesting to know that they even created their own mock hearings and then voting sessions to be able to address all of their bills. So they did have an opportunity to exercise all of those wonderful tasks and activities that we're involved in. So although they're not here with us tonight to really celebrate with all the balloons and confetti, we would just like to take this opportunity to say thank you to our 2021 pages from the General Assembly session. So let's give them a warm round of applause and send off.
And I think we have the video. It looks like it's ready.
Mr. President.
Yes, Senator, Protocol Committee Chair.
Thank you very much. I think, ladies and gentlemen, we would really be remiss if we didn't recognize the efforts of Renee Smoot. We thank you, Ms. Renee, and for your whole team in working with these pages. Let's hear it for Renee. God bless you.
And Ms. Renee, who took on the duties of our reading clerk as well as maintaining the page program. And it was early on where there was this possibility that the program would be canceled. And we had a conversation, and I think we both came from the exact same place where if there's any way to make it work, let's try to find a way. And Renee and Tawana just did such a wonderful job, giving such a great experience, and would recommend that people read the Maryland Matters article. There was a really great overview of the pages and their experience, and they were really thrilled. And just it's such an important component. Despite the chaos of the moment, with keeping that program alive, just can't thank Renee and Tawana enough for their work throughout this. Thank you. All right. Other announcements before we jump into the business of the body. Any other announcements? No? All right. Then let's get to it. Without objection, so we consider the reading of the bills from the prior legislative day. We're going to start with a report from the Committee on Rules. Clerk will read the report.
House Bill 595, Delegate Frazier Hidalgo, Vehicle Laws, Personal Delivery Devices, Standards
Majority
and
Leader moves so be
Requirements.
considered the reading of the bills. The bills will be referred to their appropriate standing committee. We apologize to the DLS staff that just received those. All right, we've got Senate Bill 649. We've got a message number 2. Clerk will read the message.
Senate Bill 649, Senator Griffith, Procurement MBE Program Compliance Review and Oversight. By the Majority Leader, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, the House of Delegates does not recede in the House amendments to the Senate bill and agrees to a conference committee to confer on the disagreeing votes of the two houses. The Senate has appointed Senator Washington Chairman, Senator Simonera, Senator Lamb. The House appoints Delegate Sample Hughes Chair, Delegate Rosenberg, Delegate Belcastro. Said bill is returned herewith by order Sylvia Seegert, Chief Clerk.
Message having been read is ordered journalized. All right, we've got a concurrence calendar of Senate bills. Let's go ahead and get through this concurrence calendar. This is calendar number 45. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 415, Senator Pinsky, Public Financing Act, Matching Fund Revisions, Maryland Fair Elections Act, EHE, and Budget and Tax.
All right, Chair recognizes the Chair of the Committee on the House Amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a bill that calls for public financing of the gubernatorial election, allowing up to 2 in the primary and 1 in the general election. The House amendments make a few minor changes. They change the language for the matching contributions from a registered voter to a resident of the state. They strike a requirement that an unknowing violation are subject to specified civil penalty, and they require the state board to consider certain factors when determining the civil penalty for a violation. The basic program stays in place. It's matching. It limits the funds. It's voluntary. Mr. President, we would move to concur with the House amendments.
All right, the committee moves that we concur with the House amendments. On the amendments, any discussion? Chair recognizes the senator from District 5 on the amendments.
At the risk of saying I wasn't going to get up, I did hear something that piqued my interest. When the House amendment on registered voters, so they changed it from registered voter to resident of the state, and that seems reasonable. How do we determine who is a resident of the state?
The same way contributors to each of us is decided. In other words, they can't be a resident national. In other words, if you are not...
if I'm from Germany and I'm living here, I can't contribute to political
correct.
campaigns.
And that's true with us. This doesn't change it from the current law as it pertains
That's what I mean, yeah. So like right now, I can't take a donation from a German or Russian or...
Correct. And that would be the same.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you very much.
All right, on the amendments, any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The House amendments are adopted. Question now is, we have Senate Bill 415, yet again before the Senate on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 43 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 415 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 427, Senator Eldred, Public Schools Provision of Menstrual Hygiene Products Requirement, EHE.
Chair recognizes the Chair of the Committee on the House Amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. We've heard this bill. We passed it. The House amendments restore the bill back to the version passed by the Senate. They've seen the error of their ways. So, Mr. President, I would move that we concur with the House action.
All right. The committee moves that we adopt the House amendments. On the amendments, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The House amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 427 is again before the Senate on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 427 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 497, Senator Kelly, Juvenile Services Education Board and Program Establishment Powers and Duties, JPR.
Chair recognizes the Chair of the Committee on the House amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. As passed, this Senate bill repeals the statutory provisions regarding the Juvenile Services Education Program within the Maryland State Department of Education, and instead establishes a JSE board within the Department of Juvenile Services to oversee and provide education to those incarcerated juveniles. The House amendments required the Juvenile Service Education Program superintendent to submit an implementation plan consistent with the blueprint of Maryland's future before June 15th, 2023. It requires juvenile services to be included in a unit within DJS. The committee moves to concur with what the House did.
All right. Committee moves that we adopt the House amendments. Any discussion? If not, All in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The Senate concurs with the House amendment. Senate Bill 497 is again before the Senate on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 497, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 669, Senator Wallstreicher, constitutional amendment, civil jury tries. This is a constitutional amendment, JPR.
All right, Chair recognizes Chair of the Committee on the House Amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. The House amendments basically will be passed out of the Senate, moved to the amount of controversy in the district court from 15 to 30,000. The House dropped it down to 25,000. The committee moves to concur.
All right, the committee moves that we adopt the House amendments. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The House amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 669 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 669, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 670, Senator Wallstreicher, court civil jury trials, amount in controversy, JPR.
Chair recognizes Chair of the Committee on the House Amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the companion bill because it's a constitutional amendment. The JPR moves to concur.
Committee moves to concur with House amendments. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The House amendments are adopted. Question now. 670 is now on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. All right, clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 726, Senator Feldman, vehicle laws, personal delivery devices, standards and requirements, JPR.
Chair recognizes the Chair of the Committee on the House Amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. You all may remember this. This is the personal delivery device. The House amendments authorize these devices to operate on the shoulders, and they clarify that the provisions of the bill requiring operators to carry insurance require these devices to obey all applicable local traffic laws, and to clarify that the process the administration must develop in its pilot program. JPR concurs.
All right, the committee moves that we adopt the House amendments. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendments say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The House amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 726 is again before us on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. It appears the Jetsons bill will pass. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 726, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 832, Charles County Senators, Southern Maryland Multifamily Dwelling Registration Fees and Fines, JPR.
Chair recognizes the Chair of the Committee on the House Amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. The House amendments makes SB 832 identical to its cross-file HB 1061, which passed the Senate unanimously. The committee moves to concur.
All right, the committee moves that we adopt the House amendments. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the House amendments say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The House amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 832 is again before the Senate on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 832, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 551, Senator Rosapep, Work Group on School Construction Incentives, Budget and Taxation.
Chair recognizes the Chair of the Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee concurs with the House amendments to Senate Bill 551. The bill originally dealt with a work group to evaluate the cost per student for constructing school buildings and providing incentives. The House amendments instead created a study group, work group on the assessment and funding of school facilities. The amendments also make various changes under the Built to Learn Act as it pertains to the authority of Prince George's County to enter into P3 agreements, overall school size, uses, and transfer of special funds, uses the healthy school funds, and makes the bill an emergency bill. Essentially, this is all about, other than the study, it's all about making the Built to Learn Act, which of course got caught up in a veto, to actually implement it and make it work smoothly for all of our jurisdictions. Move to concur.
All right, the chairman moves that we concur with the House amendments. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The House amendments are adopted. Question now, we have Senate Bill 551, again before us on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 551, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 741, Senator Rosapep, COVID-19 Testing, Contract Tracing, and Vaccination Act of 2021, Finance and Budget and Taxation. This is an emergency bill.
Chair recognizes the... Oh, I'm sorry. Chair of the Finance Committee on the House amendments.
Senate Bill 741 requires the Maryland Department of Health to adopt and implement a 2-year plan to respond to COVID-19. The bill also requires the department to develop a plan for vaccinating residents, convene a Maryland Public Health Infrastructure Modernization Work Group, and provide funding to local jurisdictions and other care providers to cover testing and other costs. The House amendments require the Maryland Department of Health to collaborate with the State Department of Education when adopting and implementing the response plan, and strike a requirement that the plan include the establishment of a public health job score. Instead, the work group must make recommendations regarding the establishment of the job score. In addition, the House amendments allow local jurisdictions to use grant funding under the bill for additional public health purposes related to COVID-19 response, and modify requirements for the vaccination plan, including requiring a strategy for outreach and distribution to individuals who are not receiving the vaccine due to a lack of access or vaccine hesitancy. The House amendments also alter the title, membership, and duties of the workshop, clarify a provision relating to the appropriation of federal funds for specified purposes under the bill, and delay by 6 months the effective date of certain hospital outpatient facility fee disclosure requirements to provide more time for implementation due to pandemic-related challenges. We move to concur.
All right. The committee moves that we concur with the House amendments. On the amendments, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The House amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 741 is now before us again on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 741, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. All right, we have messages on House Bill 581. 581, clerk will read the messages. The first message.
House Bill 581, Delegate D. Davis, Labor and Employment Standards During an Emergency, Maryland Essential Workers Protection Act. By the Majority Leader, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, the House of Delegates refuses to concur in the Senate amendments and respectfully requests the Senate recede from its position. Should the Senate prefer a conference committee to confer on the disagreeing votes of the two houses, the House appoints Delegate Wilson, Chair, Delegate D.E. Davis, Delegate Dumais. Said bill is returned herewith by order Sylvia Seegert, Chief Clerk.
All right. The House wanted a conference committee. We may have a different idea. Chair recognizes the Senate sponsor of the bill. Let's go with the chair of the committee, Chair of Finance.
The House had a better set of amendments than we did, and we moved to recede.
Okay. The committee moves that we recede from the amendment. So we're going to have a couple steps here. First is we have to reconsider the vote by which the bill passed on third reading. So the chair moves that we reconsider the vote. Any objections? Without objections, so ordered. We now have to reconsider the vote by which the amendments were adopted on the bill. Any discussion on that on the chair's motion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The vote is now reconsidered. We'll entertain a motion to reconsider or to withdraw the Senate amendments. The chair so requests. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The amendments are withdrawn. At this point, House Bill 581 is before the Senate yet again on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 32 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 581, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. All right, we've got some amended bills that are going to need some concurrences. Yes, Chair recognizes the senator from Baltimore County.
Mr. President, would this be an appropriate time to ask for a vote change?
It would be.
Thank you. I'd like to change my vote on Senate Bill 669 from green to red.
669, Senate Bill 669, green to red. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. All right, we've got a third reading calendar, number 52. 52. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 73, Delegate Krim.
This is Senate third reading calendar 52.
Okay.
These are House bills. I don't know where that one is. Somewhere in this Mount Everest. $52. And there we are.
House Bill 31, Delegate Clippinger, court surcharges and payment to special funds, prohibited lease provisions.
All right, House Bill 31 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 31 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 31, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 610, Delegate Hill, homeowners property tax credit, eligibility of surviving family member.
House Bill 610 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. Oh, I'm sorry. Was there did I miss something? Nope. All right. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 610, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1324, Delegate P. Young, tobacco tax and sales and use tax, out-of-state sales of premium cigars and pipe tobacco and tobacco smoking devices. This is an emergency bill.
House Bill 1324 is on third reader for final passage. Senators, this is an emergency bill. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1324, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. All right. Oh, yes. Chair recognizes the senator from Minority Leader.
I apologize. I must be getting tired here. I need to change my vote on HB 31 from green to red.
31 from green to red. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. All right. Let's go to, what do we have here? Report number 61 out of Judicial Proceedings. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 1186, Delegate Clippinger, Office of the Attorney General, Firearm Crime, Injuries, Fatalities, and Crime Firearms Study Extension, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 27th District as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, as amended, this bill extends the termination date of Chapter 491 of 2020 from December 31st, 2022 to December 31st, 2024, and modifies the provisions of that act. Specifically, the bill extends by 2 years the requirement of the Office of the Attorney General to 1, study information regarding firearms committed in the state since August 1st, 2015 as specified, 2, identify specified information for each 911 request for emergency assistance involving a firearm crime, 3, study information regarding firearm injuries and fatalities occurring in the state since July 1st, 2020, as specified, and 4, with regard to crime firearms, study, report, compile, collect, and gather specified information. In addition, the bill extends by 1 year specified dates by which the Office of the Attorney General must report to the Governor and General Assembly specified findings and conclusions regarding firearm crimes firearm crimes committed, firearm injuries and fatalities occurring, and crime firearms recovered, and 2, requires an additional report with similar specified information. Notwithstanding a provision of law governing confidentiality of records related to the petition for an extreme risk protective order, the amended bill also authorizes the Office of the Attorney General to access information from the district court for the purposes of providing specified review of protective orders, petitions, and related information as specified. The Office of the Attorney General is authorized to delegate the review and research undertaken under provisions of the bill to a recognized research institution located in the state. Mr. President, there are 2 committee amendments. The first is technical. The second adds provisions related to access and review of specified protective order records and authorizes review and research to be delegated as specified. Move the committee amendments and move for the adoption of the favorable committee report.
All right, floor leader moves to the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the favorable committee report is amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1186 is hereby ordered passed to 3rd reading. Chair recognizes the chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion to suspend Rule 24 to have 2 readings in one day.
All right, the senator has moved to suspend Rule 24 on the bill out of JPR. It's going to need a concurrence. On the motion to suspend Rule 24 for 2 readings, chair recognizes the minority whip.
Yeah, I'd ask for an opposition of this. I view this as basically this study is going to further gun control. It has the Attorney General, who's nothing personal, but he's been an advocate of gun control, and then it's going to give it to a university, which I believe it's going to Hopkins, which, well, Bloomberg's been funding. So I view this as a gun control vote, so I'm going to oppose this motion.
All right, would the senator request a roll call vote on the motion? All right, on the suspension of Rule 24, any further discussion? A vote in favor will suspend the rule. A vote in the red will not. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 31 votes in the affirmative, the motion fails. The bill will go on to, we'll go to the next bill. Let's go to the report number 65. 65, clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 1187, Delegate Clippinger, Juvenile Law, Juvenile Justice Reform, favorable with 2 amendments.
Favorable with 2 amendments. Chair recognizes whom? Yes, the senator from Baltimore City is the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. The bill as amended mirrors the bill that was the Senate bill that we passed out of here just the last set time we met. So the bill basically extends the Juvenile Reform Council and continues to provide funding to a grant program to ROCA Baltimore. I'd move the amended bill. Favorable committee report.
All right, floor leader moves to the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The 2 amendments are adopted. Question now is on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1187 is hereby ordered passed to 3rd reading. Do we want to do? No.
Mr. President?
Yes, Chair recognizes the senator from District 5.
Not on the bill. Are we in between calendars?
We are, yes.
I'm going to sheepishly ask to change my vote on House Bill 31 from green to red.
31 from green to red. Are there any objections to the senator's motion? Without objection, so ordered. All right, where are we? We've got, that's fine. Let's do some JPR here. All right, we've got Report 64. The clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 19, Delegate Homes, Residential Real Estate Transactions, Escrow Accounts, and Trust Money, favorable.
House Bill 19, looking for a floor leader. Going once. Out of JPR. Twice. All right, let's special order the bill to the end of the calendar. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 180, Delegate Clippinger, Juvenile Sexting, favorable.
All right. Chair recognizes the senator from District 11 as the floor leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. House Bill 180 establishes special procedures for juveniles who commit certain offenses involving sexting. Specifically, the bill establishes that in juvenile court proceedings for violations of specific obscenity and child pornography laws, it's a mitigating factor that the violation involved or arose out of sexting. 2, it prohibits the juvenile court from making certain dispositions for these kinds of violations except under certain circumstances. And 3, it authorizes the juvenile court to order a child to participate in an educational program on the risks and consequences of sexting. And finally, it establishes that a child who violates a provision of the criminal law article is not subject to sex offender registration. There are no committee amendments. I move for the favorable adoption of the committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 180 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 477, Delegate Pippi, court order to use a cell site simulator or obtain location information from an electronic device. Procedures favorable.
Chair recognizes the senator from District 29 as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill specifies the ways in which an application for a court order authorizing and directing a law enforcement officer to use a cell site simulator or obtain location information from an electronic device may be submitted to a judge, specify the way in which an application for the court order or a judge may converse about the application, specifies the way in which the judge may issue the court order. There were no amendments. Move for an adoption of a favorable report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 477 is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 480, Delegate Barvet, vehicle laws, plug-in electric drive vehicles, reserved parking spaces, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes the senator from Baltimore County as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Johnny on the spot this time. As amended, this bill prohibits stopping, standing, or parking a vehicle in a designated plug-in electric drive vehicle charging space unless that vehicle is a plug-in electric drive vehicle that is plugged into the charging equipment. The person who violates this bill's provisions is subject to a civil penalty of $100. There are 2 committee amendments. The first is technical. The second removes provisions authorizing vehicles in violation of the bill to be towed. There's no opposition to this bill. The vote of the committee was unanimous. I move the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendments of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 480 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 681, Delegate Buckle, Task Force to Study the Maryland Orphans Court, favorable.
Chair recognizes Orphans Court. Orphans Court. The senator representing Baltimore City is the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill basically is a bill that will provide a task force to study the efficacy of orphans courts and consider any improvements needed. There are no committee amendments. I would move the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 681 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Let's go back to that special ordered one at the front. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 19, Delegate Holmes, residential real estate transactions, escrow agents, and trust money, favorable.
Chair recognizes the senator from Baltimore County as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill clarifies recently enacted requirements relating to the written agreements entered into when an escrow agent agrees to hold trust money for certain residential real estate transactions. primarily by altering statutory definitions. The bill eliminates a reference to beneficial owner in the modified definition of trust money and thus also eliminates the unnecessary definition of beneficial owner. There was no opposition to this bill. There are no committee amendments. The bill passed unanimously. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? Oh, hold on. One moment, too early. Any discussion on the report? We're still on the report. Still on the report. Nope. Hold on. We're on it was 19, House Bill 19. Make sure we get it right. Everyone's tired. We're going to get it right. And we have to go back one step there. We have not adopted the report quite yet. All right. Questions on the adoption of the favorable committee report? Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 19 is hereby ordered passed to third reader. All right. Let's do, we got judicial proceedings again, 52. Report 52. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 281, Delegate Chang, Local Government, Humane Society, and Animal Control Officers, Education and Training Requirements, favorable with one amendment.
All right. Animal control. Animal control. Chair recognizes the Vice Chair of the committee as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. The House amendment simply adds that this bill is applicable in Baltimore City as it is the rest of the state. Move the one amendment and the favorable committee report.
Interesting. All right, floor leader moves to the adoption of one committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The one committee amendment is adopted. Question now is on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 281 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 541, Montgomery County Delegation. Montgomery County Residential Property Sales School District Information, Montgomery County 121, favorable.
Chair recognizes the chair of the committee as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sorry, things are piling up over here. This bill requires a contract of sale for a single-family residential property in Montgomery County to include a notice that the school boundaries designated for the property may be subject to change. There were no committee amendments and move adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 541 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill. Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong thing. 54. Actually, would it be appropriate, can we have a motion from the majority leader to make that a consent calendar? Any objections to that being a consent calendar on third reader? Any objections? All right. Without objection, so ordered. We'll make that calendar a consent calendar for third. Let's go to 54, report number 54. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 567, Montgomery County Delegation, Montgomery County Cooperative Housing Corporations, Condominiums, and Homeowners Association Reserve Studies, Montgomery County 321, favorable.
Chair recognizes the chair of the committee. Chair of the committee on the Montgomery County Delegation as the floor leader.
Can you special order this for just 1 second to the end of is this the only one on the calendar?
We've got 4 on this one.
You can put it at the end of this calendar, please.
Okay, well, next one's Delegation 2. Why don't we just special order this calendar for a moment? We'll hold on this calendar for a bit. Any objections to special ordering the calendar for 2 calendars from now? Without objection, so ordered. All right, let's give JPR a break. We'll go to finance for a minute. We've got calendar report number 56. Report number 56 out of finance. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 829, Delegate Learman, Economic Development, Small Business Financing, Loan Loss Reserve, Maryland Capital Access Program, favorable.
Chair recognizes Vice Chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 829 establishes the Capital Access Program in the Department of Commerce. The purpose of the program is to stimulate opportunities for small businesses that may have difficulty in obtaining business financing to have access to credit by establishing a loan loss reserve program. The borrowers, lenders, and the Department of Commerce are required to contribute specified funds to an account from which the lender may withdraw funds in the event of a default by the borrower as specified. Loans may not be for longer than 10 years and may not exceed $250,000. Eligible lenders are credit unions, financial institutions, and community development financial institutions. There are no amendments, no opposition to the committee hearing. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report, Mr. President.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 829 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. We'll go to budget and tax, calendar number 45. We just got one bill on here. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 1349, Delegate Sample Hughes, Public Health, Maryland Prenatal and Infant Care Grant Program Fund, favorable.
Chair recognizes the senator from District 30 as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, House Bill 1349 is the exact match to Senate Bill 777 that this body passed last month. We've had this discussion many times about the unacceptably high rate of maternal do not have it. It allows for these grants to go to federally qualified health centers, hospitals, and other providers of prenatal care. It increases the amount of the funding the governor has provided in the budget from $100,000 to $1.1 million next year, $2.1 million in fiscal 24, and $3.1 million in fiscal 25. Move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1349 is ordered passed for third reader. Chairman of Judicial Proceedings, you want to go back to that other calendar? We're good? All right, let's go to calendar 54. We'll start with the first bill. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 567, Montgomery County Delegation, Montgomery County Cooperative Housing Corporations, Condominiums and Homeowners Association, Reserve Studies, Montgomery County 321, favorable.
Chair recognizes the chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill requires a study every 5 years of the reserves needed for future major repairs and replacements of common elements of cooperative housing corporation or condominium or the common areas of a homeowners association in Montgomery County. There are no committee amendments. And move adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 567 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Talk about politics, condo association politics. That is real politics. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 769, Montgomery County Delegation, Montgomery County Housing Opportunities Commission, Public Body, Montgomery County 721, favorable.
Excuse me. But Chair recognizes the chair of the committee.
It's a special order.
Just this one?
Just this one, yep.
Okay. Until?
Not tomorrow. Just until the next calendar.
How about an hour? We'll call an hour.
An hour works for me.
All right. Without objection, any objections to the special order for an hour? Without objection, so ordered. All right. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1248, Delegate Washington, Public Safety, Police Officer, Data Collection and Reporting, favorable with one amendment.
Chair recognizes the senator from District 27 as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, in the spirit of police reform, this bill requires by March 1st, 2022, and each March 1st thereafter, each local law enforcement agency to report to the Governor's Office of Crime Prevention, Youth and Victim Services specified information on each use of force incident for the previous calendar year involving a police officer employed by the law enforcement agency that resulted in a monetary settlement or judgment against the law enforcement agency. The Governor's Office of Crime Prevention, Youth and Victim Services must, 1, adopt procedures for the collection of and analysis of the required information. 2, by June 30th each year, compile and submit an annual report on the required information to the General Assembly. And 3, annually post the required report to its website. There was one committee amendment which specifies that the bill is applicable to the use of force incidents within the agencies. Move for the adoption of the committee amendment and the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the one committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The one committee amendment is adopted. Question now on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or recital? Seeing none, House Bill 1248 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 1339, Chair, Judiciary Committee, Child Support Guidelines, favorable.
Chair recognizes the Senator from Baltimore County as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This departmental bill delays until July 1st, 2022, the effective date for provisions of law that relate to child support. These provisions were enacted last year and are set to take effect on October 1, 2021. The Department of Human Services is requesting the delay because the Child Support Administration is transitioning its IT systems. Due to the pandemic, the transition will not be completed as originally anticipated for all of Maryland's 24 jurisdictions before the October 1st, 2021 effective date, so this bill just delays the implementation date until July 1st, 2022. There was no opposition. The committee vote was unanimous. There are no committee amendments. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1339 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Would there be any objections to those last three bills, less HB 769? We had one departmental, one delegation. Are there any objections to putting that on a consent calendar? All right, without objection, so ordered. We'll make that calendar a consent calendar for third reader. All right, next up, we've got report number 60. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 16, Delegate Stewart, Correctional Services, Immigration, Detention, Prohibition, Dignity, Not Detention Act, favorable with two amendments.
Chair recognizes the chair of the committee on the report.
Thank you, Mr. President. As amended, this bill is identical to Senate Bill 478. The bill prohibits the state or local jurisdiction from entering into an agreement relating to the establishment of an immigration detention facility owned or operated by a private entity. The bill also prohibits the state or any local jurisdiction from approving zoning variance or a permit or construction or reuse of a building for private entities as an immigration detention facility without first notifying the public and having have an opportunity for public notice and comment. Immigration-related actions in the course of regular police functions with specified exceptions. There are two amendments, Mr. President. One is technical, and amendment number 2, adoption of the two committee amendments in the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the two committee amendments in the favorable committee report. On the amendments, chair recognizes the minority whip on the amendments.
Yeah, thank you. Would the floor leader yield?
Will the floor leader yield? Senator may proceed.
I just have some questions, and I want to go through I'd say somewhat briefly for the body what the bill does. The reading was kind of fast. So to understand, the bill would ban what's called basically on-street enforcement, but if I have that correct, it's not really of an issue because the Supreme Court said in Arizona that you can't do on-street enforcement of immigration. So it says that, correct?
That's absolutely correct. You remember the governor of Arizona, Jan Brewer. Yes, so the Supreme Court.
So, and the bill doesn't touch counties that have 287G programs, correct?
That's absolutely correct.
All right, and the bill doesn't touch detention or detainers. So we had a big back and forth in committee about detainers, but this doesn't get involved in how they honor detainers, yes or no, right?
It does not those 48-hour holdover detainers, no.
So really, and then the part about private facilities, we don't have a private facility in Maryland, so that isn't really an issue. So what is that issue is, and we didn't have this data at the time in the committee, and I'm trying to figure it out, is counties that have an agreement so that ICE has already lodged a detainer, they've picked a person up, and they want to hold them in order to, so the detainer's already been honored, they're in federal custody, and the feds want to drop them off at a facility in Maryland. So let's say they were picked up in Prince George's County or Montgomery County, and then Frederick County has an agreement. I know is one. And then I think, is it Worcester is the other county that has an agreement?
So it's Worcester and Howard County until recently.
Okay, so the only two, though, that are remaining are Frederick and Worcester have an agreement.
Correct.
Okay, so this bill would say that Frederick and Worcester can no longer have those agreements.
That's right. So just to be clear on what those agreements are, these are intergovernmental agreements that allow for those local detention facilities to be used by ICE to house folks for immigration violations.
Yeah. So just an understanding too, which is sort of a philosophical problem I have with the bill, is that this will not stop the feds or ICE from detaining or holding anybody, because it doesn't affect the locals' and their abilities to do detainers. It's once ICE has already taken custody of a person, this will just say, instead of being housed in the state of Maryland, they'll be housed in, quite frankly, they'll find, I'm sure a lot of red states will be more than happy to take the money and house them, and so it'll be housed in Kentucky or Tennessee or someplace like that, right?
So a couple things for that. One is that the vast majority of the folks that are being housed in these facilities are for non-violent offenses. Second is that this population moves around regionally. So while if we were to get rid of this practice here, you'll notice that a number of the folks, a high percentage of the folks that are actually in that Worcester County or those Frederick County are not from Worcester or Frederick County. They're from the region generally. So this is a transient population. So there wouldn't be much impact. Third, I'd say, look, obviously the House had more testimony in this than we did because of our limitations because of COVID, but a lot of the family members are just terrified to visit and don't. They just don't do it. So I'd say, and the last thing I'd say is that there are some critical alternatives for housing in terms of, there's something called the Intensive Surveillance Assistance Program, which allows for that monitoring outside of a detention facility. They've got something north of a 95% rate of turn-up for their court proceedings. So it's a much more humane practice, a much more efficient practice. Actually, it's a much more economically an economical practice. So on all accounts, it's just a better policy and a better way to go.
Well, I guess my question is, with all due respect to the efficacy of whether they hold them or not, it seems the federal government has made the decision that they want the person held. They've picked the person up because they're trying to get them to their immigration hearing. So they're going to hold the person until they get to their immigration hearing. And so what is that question is whether they're going to hold Marylanders in Maryland facilities, or if we pass this legislation, will the case not be that the federal government, the people they now choose to hold, they will now be forced to hold them in out-of-state facilities?
Or engage in an alternative method of supervision.
Yeah, and granted, they could choose to do that, but that's not in our purview. What the federal government is saying, we're going to hold people because we want to get them in front of a judge, because they want to get them an immigration hearing. And so if we pass this, they'll have to take them out of state. And just one last question I have is that the bill does say, interestingly enough, even though we don't have a private facility, that you can build a private prison in Maryland, and that you just have to have a series of a public hearing, I think 6 months prior. Isn't that the case?
That's right. I mean, I'm not sure we can curtail the ability of a private entity to move in and do business here, but we did set those restrictions as, look, you've got to have public notice and comment. If and when that ever happens, you better believe the public's going to be engaged, and the local elected officials are going to hear from their constituents as to whether or not they want this facility to be located in their backyard.
All right, I misspoke. I have one more last question, then I'll be done. So the last question is, though, if the federal government builds a private facility, isn't it true that that facility, unlike the facility in Frederick County or in Worcester, which are controlled and operated by our elected officials, which are under our local set of laws, that a federal private facility is governed completely outside of Maryland law?
No, that would be true.
Okay, thank you.
All right, on the amendments, any discussion on the amendments? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye, opposed nay. The ayes have it. The two committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the favorable committee report as amended. Chair recognizes the senator from District 36 on the report.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Just the floor leader, please yield for questions.
The floor leader yields. Senator may proceed.
Thank you. I'm just trying to understand why we are making a policy decision that would not allow a county to move forward with one of these type of facilities. Queen Anne's County has a small town, Sudlersville, northern part of the county, that was debt-ridden, had problems trying to fund a wastewater treatment plant, and ICE officials had looked towards Queen Anne's County to be one of these 600-bed detention centers. The town commissioners had traveled to a number of different places, saw other facilities that were in operation, and I've obviously thought that this was a much better option to build one of these brand new facilities than to house these immigrants, many who have no criminal record at all, in jails. So why would we be trying to prevent something like this or telling counties that they cannot move forward with this?
Again, that surveillance assistance program that I talk about is a much better and more economically viable option than building a new facility. If you build a new facility, you're obviously going to fill it because there's a financial incentive to do so. And so, just to be very clear on the bill, if a private entity wants to move on in, it just says, look, you got to have notice and comment from the public and from your constituents.
Right.
We also do curtail any government assistance or support from the state government to support any of those efforts. This alternative method of supervision is a much more humane, much more efficient, and much more economically viable option for all involved.
Isn't that decisions that ICE should be making and not us?
I think it's our decision to make the policy that we're not going to house folks, and we're not going to profit off of people being housed for, as you even yourself have mentioned, for people that don't even have a criminal offense. So I would suspect it's best in all of our best interest in state policy not to have a policy that profits off of imprisoning people with no criminal charge.
Well, you might call it profit. In a town like Sudlersville, I might call it economic development. I might call it the opportunity to create jobs and, again, put immigrants in a facility that is much better than a jail. Because as my colleague said before, if we don't do it, somebody else will, right? And somebody else might not think that the method that you said is the best way to do it, and they just might, put them in jails with criminals, whereas this type of facility, from what I saw and the conversations I had, was a much, much more humane type of environment than is the option that's available now.
Well, I've got some testimonials that kind of that run contrary to that kind of notion that it's a hospitable, humane environment. But I would say, if you're going to talk about economic development and allowing people to engage in enterprise and commerce outside, why would you house them in a facility? Why would not, again, have an alternate method of supervision where folks can go to work, can be with their families, can engage, can spend money locally? That, to me, seems to be, again, the most economically viable and humane approach for this. Again, for people in large amounts, for the vast majority of whom do not have a criminal charge.
Okay, well, again, I understand your position. If you think that's the other option, what we heard the other option was that they go to jails and they end up being detained with criminals in other places when, again, these are not criminals and not people with criminal type offenses. So, okay, I appreciate your comments and your position on it. I think part of the policy might be accurate. I think maybe preventing these types of facilities, although Sudlersville decided not to move forward with this because of some of the reasons that you said. They did hold public hearings. The town came out and they said, yeah, we know we're in debt. We know we might have to roll up the charter pretty soon and just not be a incorporated municipality anymore because of the debt. But at the end of the day, the public spoke and they did not move forward. But I just would have hated this not to be an option for them because of policy we created. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes the Senator from District 5. On the report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President, and I want to ask the floor leader if he'd be willing to yield.
Will the floor leader yield? Pure so. Senator may proceed.
Thank you. So let me first, I want to go back to something that the minority whip asked about the provisions of this bill. So one of the provisions of the bill is that there can't be people enforcing on the street for immigration, correct?
That's right.
That's currently really already federal practice.
That is in line with the Supreme Court ruling, yes.
Right. Okay. So really, there's no change there. I think we've had bills before dealing with this issue, and generally, I actually agree. I don't really want people walking around asking. I don't want any law enforcement just walking around asking somebody for their papers. I think we all generally agree that's probably not a good practice, and that's why we're not doing it. So that really is it's in the bill, but it doesn't really have a lot of effect. So coming back, I'm just struggling to understand. I don't have any of these. This center is not in my area, but that we're talking about, but I guess I don't understand what we're trying to do here, because if the goal of the bill, and I know you're not, I know my friend is, the floor leader is not the sponsor of the bill, but if the goal here is to say we don't like the practice of having people waiting to see an immigration judge to resolve their immigration status, this doesn't really do anything about that, right? Because they're just going to be waiting somewhere else.
So this sets forth a policy that here in Maryland, we're not going to provide a financial incentive to house folks that have committed no criminal act. And that, to me, to my mind, is sound state policy. And if you shut this down, you're going to drive that practice into other forms of supervision, which are much more humane and much more beneficial and much more economically sound for all involved. So that's a critical first step for our state to take to do that.
So you say we're going to drive into other more humane practices. So, I mean, is the goal here to have the Biden administration change their policies on immigration?
So obviously changes are afoot already and more are coming, but, we're doing what we can here in Maryland, and if that sparks a greater national movement, then all for the better.
I guess my concern would be, there's not a whole lot of states are going to. I've seen state governments. We don't tend to turn down, as a whole, we don't tend to turn down money too much. Sounds like maybe we're turning down a little money with this if we pass this, but other states are not going to. I mean, again, how do you deal with the issue of, you're saying there are people who haven't committed a crime, but they're in the country illegally, and we can talk all about the broken immigration system all we want. I know that's the counter, but they're not here legally, and they've broken some kind of regulation, and we're waiting to have them go to do what they should have done, to go to an immigration judge so that we can rectify the situation. So what alternative would there be?
Again, like I said, those alternative methods of supervision, which I said, like 95% of those folks show up for their immigration hearing. I mean, some of these, I haven't done this yet, and we haven't gotten to that point yet, but the testimonials, a couple of you constituents of mine, folks have been in the country for decades, have families here, have jobs, have real responsibilities. This is the only country they really know. And so then to have them get ensnared in this flawed immigration national policy and then have to languish in a jail while their civil immigration matter resolves itself is inhumane, and we should not have a policy in our state, on our books, that incentivizes profiting from that practice.
And my last question would be, how many people are we talking about? How many people are we talking about right now in Maryland that are in this situation?
All right, so I don't have the exact numbers to
roughly,
date, right?
yeah, roughly,
but
sure.
I have a breakdown of kind of where they're from and their length of stay. So 43% of the folks that are now in are from both facilities, Frederick and Worcester. This is the Worcester County. 43% are from, not Worcester County and not from other facilities, so they're transferred in. It's a very transient population. The average length of stay is about 78 days for that facility. For Frederick County, 46 days. About 40% of those folks are transferred in and out. I can dig in and get more numbers, raw numbers, but I don't have the day-to-day numbers.
Okay, so the facility in Frederick probably has, I think it's about 200 people, correct, at max? I guess what I'm trying to get at is
that sounds in the right ballpark from what I've read from the fiscal note and from the testimony.
Okay. I guess what I'm trying to get at, and thank you, Mr. Floor Leader. I guess what I'm trying to get at, Mr. President, is despite the statements of most people show up for their hearings, and that these are people who have been here for years and years, to get into one of these facilities, you're not just somebody that generally these are people who there's a reason that they've been picked up, and it's not just that they happen to be violating immigration, their immigration status is not correct. A lot of times they're people who have been multiple times, they've been caught, there's other issues. So, I don't know that we need this bill, but I do appreciate the discussion about the issues because it helps to clarify what is actually in the bill now. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes the Senator from District 8.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Chairman, Floor Leader.
Will the Floor Leader yield? Senator may proceed.
Thank you. I guess I should have asked you to yield, but my question is, from the very beginning of you giving the whole statement of the bill, when you're doing the floor report, I was trying hard to keep up with it. because I don't understand. You had given some numbers and some acronyms, and I thought I'd listen. But can you just tell me who these people are going into these two different facilities that we won't be using anymore? Does that make sense?
Sure. So that population changes because you've been mentioning it's a kind of a transient population. Those folks get transferred from facility to facility. But these folks are awaiting they're awaiting their deportation proceedings, for a variety of reasons. Some, the folks that are there, their only criminal offense was the illegal crossing. Some folks are just have traffic offenses, and then they found out that they were not here legally, so they get ensnared. Some, on the other end of the spectrum, have criminal records. So the vast majority of folks do not have criminal records that are in these facilities. But the folks that do have criminal records, the highest percentage of those, the criminal records is that illegal entry, that illegal crossing. That's the highest percentage of the people that have been ensnared in this practice.
How do they get caught without criminal back?
So it's anything like a minor traffic violation, any interaction with law enforcement, and then they find out their immigration status, and then that starts kind of the chain of events.
Okay, I guess I almost have it. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to be clear, they don't need a criminal reason to pick someone up under these circumstances.
And currently they're kept in Frederick and Worcester County?
Well, so Worcester County and Frederick County have agreements, these intergovernmental arrangements with the federal government to house within their public jail facilities this population.
And where will they go now?
So now their alternative is an alternative method of supervision to make sure, and that's a practice that is intense supervision. People are in constant contact with the immigration authorities, and they show up for their immigration hearing 95 plus north of the percentage at the time. Or they'll be moved to a different facility outside of the state.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Senator. All right, Chair recognizes Senator from the 38th District. On the report. Senator. Lower Eastern Shore.
Oh, thank you, Mr. President. I'm sorry. Mr. Chair?
Will the Chair yield? Senator may proceed.
I have what I hope is a friendly amendment at the desk.
Oh, Senator, we're not quite there yet. Not quite there yet.
Okay.
We have to do the report first. Any further discussion on the report? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Senator from the 38th District has an amendment. The Senator could read the amendment number, please.
Yes, Mr. President. 203621-1.
All right, just a moment, Senator.
This, I hope, would be accepted as a friendly amendment to exempt Worcester County. Oh. And I just wanted to share with the chair and with my colleagues, I've received a letter earlier in the session, but then just received one as late as this afternoon. And there have been a lot of questions about what this looks like in Worcester County, so I did want to share this directly. Worcester County has been housing up to 200 immigration-related detainees under contract with the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, ICE, since 1999. And this facility is in Snow Hill. It's a safe and secure environment for these detainees, and they are waiting for their processing under federal regulations. I also wanted to let my colleagues know that the Worcester County Jail was expanded in 2011 to increase the capacity from 319 to 502 beds. And that's not just for the immigration-related detainees, it's also for the seasonal influx of detainees because during the summer season. I also wanted to share that our Worcester County Jail does rely heavily on these ICE funds to support operations, $5.1 million towards the total jail budget of $9.2 million. And I just also wanted to share with my colleagues that when they did the expansion in 2011, they added 26 correctional officers, new jobs that were hired due to the expansion of the ICE facility. And the majority of those persons are persons of color, so there is an impact there as well. And I respectfully ask that Worcester County be exempted from this bill. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, the senator moves the amendment. Chair recognizes the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Obviously, I'm going to ask the body to resist this amendment. You said a couple things. You said jail expansion. And so I think that's the underlying premise of the entire bill. And then you said economic activity that was fueled by the housing of folks that in many cases don't have a criminal offense. So again, undercutting the very premise of the bill and prohibiting this practice in our state. I'd ask the body to resist our amendment.
All right, on the amendment, any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The noes carry. The amendment is rejected. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 16 is hereby ordered past a third reading. All right, we have another JPR. We got a Senate bill here. Let's get this one out of here. Report number 57. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 955, Senator Eckhart, Local Government Tort Claims Act, Cambridge Waterfront Development, favorable.
Chair recognizes whom? Oh, yes, Senator from District 34 is the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, Senate Bill 955 simply adds Cambridge Waterfront Development to a list of amendments in the definition of local government under the Local Government Tort Claims Act, which includes nonprofit corporation service and economic development authority for the city of Cambridge. There are no committee amendments, and I move the favorable committee report. Thank you.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 955 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. All right, we've got another Senate Bill 56 out of JPR. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 582, Senator Heddleman, Commercial Tenants, Personal Liability Clauses, Enforceability, favorable with two amendments. This is an emergency bill.
Chair recognizes the sponsor of the bill as the floor leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Senate Bill 582 is in the exact same position as House Bill 719 that we passed on third reader just a couple of hours ago.
Excellent.
Move for the favorable adoption of the committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of two committee amendments and favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The two committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the favorable committee report is amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 582 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk will read the next. Oh, we got 58, calendar 58. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 234, Delegate Williams, Criminal Law, Harm to Service Animals, favorable.
All right. Judicial Proceedings, Service Animals. Chair recognizes Senator from District 27 as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, this bill is in the exact same posture as Senate Bill 607, which was voted out unanimously on March 22nd. Move favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 234 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. All right, we've got some special orders. We've got a Senate bill here. I think we've figured out the airport issue. Special order number 57. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 849, Senator Lamb, Baltimore, Washington International Thurgood Marshall Airport, property tax credit and rental or use of motor vehicles. Bill is on third reading for final passage.
All right, Senators, this bill is on third reading for final passage. Chair recognizes the chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Could I move this back to second reader for purposes of amendment?
All right, Chairman moves that we reconsider the vote by which it passed second reader. Any objections to the senator's motion? Without objection, so ordered. Senate Bill 849 is back on second reader, subject to an amendment. Senator has an amendment.
So first, I'd like to withdraw the original amendment.
All right. We will reconsider the vote by which the amendment was adopted. Are there any objections to the senator's motion? Without objection, so ordered. Senators now move to withdraw the committee amendment. Any objections to the senator's motion? Without objection, so ordered. We now have a new committee amendment.
Yes, substitute amendment 69903-7/1.
Give us just a moment. Senator may explain the amendment.
So, actually, this amendment simply puts the bill in the same position as the House bill, which we'll be taking action on in a minute, 1180. It conforms to the House amendments that were presented to the board, to the committee. Basically, it just gives the local government more flexibility when dealing with the amount of credit they give to individuals who are affected by noise around the airport.
All right, Senator moves the amendment, the committee amendment. Any discussion or objections? Without objection, the amendment is adopted. We are now on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? All in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 849 is ordered printed for third reader. Let's go to the next special order, which is related to that somewhere. There we go, 59. Special order number 59.
House Bill 1180, Delegate Hill, Property Tax Credit, Airport Noise Zones, Eligibility. Bill is on third reading for final passage.
All right, House Bill 1180 is on third reader for final passage. Chair recognizes the chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to bring this back to second reader for purpose of amendment.
All right. We are on third. We're taking it back to second.
Taking it back to second, and we're going to actually withdraw.
Yep. The chairman moves that we reconsider the vote by which the bill passed second reader. Any objections to the senator's motion? Without objection, so ordered. Chairman now moves to reconsider the vote by which the amendments were adopted. Any objections to the senator's motion? Without objection, so ordered. Chairman now moves to withdraw the committee amendments. Any objections to the chairman's motion? Without objection, so ordered. Chairman has an amendment.
Yep. So at this point, both bills are now in the same posture.
Without the amendments. Okay.
Correct.
So we are now at the favorable committee report. Questions on the favorable committee report? Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Lord, I hope not. Okay. In which case, House Bill 1180 is hereby ordered passed to third reader. No. We'll take it. All right. Where are we? Let's see. Let's do... I think we can adjourn for a legislative day at this point. Chair recognizes the... Let's do a quick quorum call.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. With 47 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland remains in session. Chair recognizes the majority leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we adjourn to the next legislative day. In what, 5 minutes? 2 minutes?
7-11?
7-11.
7-11. 7-11. All right, without objection, so ordered. We have 2 minutes.
Mr. President?
Oh, yes.
Will the doors be secure while we're done?
I don't know, Senator. Only if you're securing them.
Okay.
We have 2 minutes. Okay, if members of JPR could please bring their computers to, no. Oh, got it. Okay, members of JPR can go to the silver room. Members of JPR to the silver room. 2 minutes.